Hello everyone, and welcome to the second course in the Roll20 101 series. In our first video, Miles walked you through how to set up your first encounter using Roll20's free tools. My name is Brooke, and today I'll be showing you how to use our most popular subscriber feature, Dynamic Lighting, along with Roll20 Characters, the D&D 2024 character sheet, and game settings. Let's get started. Dynamic lighting is a great way to immerse your players. Here's how to set it up. We'll start with a map. This one is by Afternoon Maps, and we'll head over to the Dynamic Lighting toolbar in the left-hand side of Roll20. It's labeled Dynamic Lighting, and it looks like a half sun, half moon icon. From here, it's easy to toggle Dynamic Lighting on, like so. Make sure you're on the light layer when you're working on Dynamic Lighting, and I'll zoom into the map to make it easier to see. First, we are going to create our walls. So you'll hover over and select the pen tool, and we'll just start tracing where our walls are. If you want to start a new line while you're drawing, click the left click button, and if you want to finish the line you're drawing, click the right click button. So you'll just trace all of the lines on your map that you don't want your players to be able to see through. Okay, I've finished this section of the map. You can also use different shapes depending on the shapes on your map you want to add dynamic lighting to. So in this case, we'll use the ellipse tool to add dynamic lighting to these pillars. What you'll want to do next is add light to your map. This is if there are any torches or light sources that currently exist in the map. So if there were torches in this mausoleum, I would add them to the map like so. A cool tip here is you can actually change the color of your light source by double-clicking it or clicking the cogwheel to open its token settings, heading over to the Dynamic Lighting tab, scroll down until you find light color, and then swap the light color to any color you'd like it to be. Next, let's talk about doors and windows. So over here, we'll add our lines to the walls. But there is a door there, so we're going to click where we clicked for our lighting, where we added torches, and we're going to click Place Door. Be sure to stretch out the door so it meets both edges of the walls. And once you're here, you can change a few settings, so you can create a secret door. This means your players would need to roll perception to see that it's there. You could make this a locked door, so it will need to be lockpicked or broken down to open. Or you could have it open already. In this case, this is a locked door, so we'll select locked door. Adding windows is very similar. You can do exactly the same thing by plopping your window down, dragging the line so it meets a wall, and adjusting the settings. So for windows, you can have a locked window or an open window. Let's talk about one-way walls. One-way walls are great for situations like elevation encounters where a character is standing up on a cliff and can see below them. So let me show you how to set that up. You'll want to click to the pen tool on the light layer and draw in a line just like you would a wall. Then select your line and swap it from wall to one-way. The arrows will point in the direction players can see, so in this case we want to click flip direction. This means a player standing up on this cliff will be able to see below, but nobody below them will be able to see them. You can also set the wall to transparent, so this might block your player's movement, but they still can see freely. So this would prevent my player from jumping off the cliff, but they would be able to easily see up or down the cliff. In order to give your players access to vision, you'll want to first drag their token onto the map. Click on Token Settings and navigate to the third tab called Dynamic Lighting, and then swap Token Vision to On. This gives them the ability to see. If it's nighttime and your character has night vision, then you'll want to toggle night vision to on and select how many feet of night vision they have. There are a few other settings you can toggle here, such as limit field of vision if you only want your players to be able to see a certain distance. You can also have the token emit bright or low light if they're carrying a torch or if they've casted a light spell. You can also just give them a total amount of light if you don't want to fiddle with radiuses. You can also change the color of the light here as well. There are a ton of different settings, so feel free to go in and customize based on what your encounter calls for. The light multiplier changes the effective radius of light for the player. So a setting of 200% would let this player see light from twice the radius. We'll just keep it at 100% for now. And then we'll save our settings. You can also select CTRL+L in order to better see what your player can see while you're setting up your maps. Perfect. And that's dynamic lighting. Easy enough, right? Next, let's go over how to use the Jukebox in Roll20. In the VTT, select this icon that looks like a speaker with sound waves coming out of it. Then, to add a new playlist, let's click Manage Audio. From here, you'll see the playlists that you already have. I'm going to click New Playlist. Now we'll want to add some tracks to our playlist. So head over to Tracks. From here, you can drag media files that you have on your computer, or you can use free tracks from Tabletop Audio, BattleBards, and Incompetech. Each has a search function so you can find what you need more easily. In this case, we're looking for fantasy music, so I will search for fantasy. You can preview what the sound will sound like, so we will add that to our new playlist. Now under new playlist, you'll see that soundtrack. What you'll want to keep in mind is every time you add a new track to your playlist, you'll need to add it to the game to see that reflect. Once you've got a couple playlists set up, you can move them around and organize them as you need to. You can also delete them if you'd like. And you can customize the way these play. So if I'd like the songs to fade in or fade out, I can select that. I can put these playlists on shuffle so the song order will be randomized, and I can export it to your audio playlist. You can even select a song to be on repeat if you want the same song to play over and over again. A cool way you can use the Jukebox is making a song play as soon as your players are transported to a new page. To do that, click on the settings of any page. Then you're going to scroll down to where it says Audio Play on Load. Here, you'll select one of your playlists, so I will select Cult Encounter, and I'll save my settings. When I drag my players onto this map, the Cult Encounter playlist will start playing. And that's how to use the Jukebox. Next, I'm going to show you some useful Roll20 shortcuts that can make running your games a lot faster and easier. First, holding Shift and double-clicking a token will open its character sheet if it has one. You can also minimize and reopen a character sheet by double-clicking the top bar. As a GM, this makes it super easy to run a combat with multiple combatants. Next, hold Shift and left mouse button to move everyone's field of view to that point. Or right-click anywhere on the map and click Focus Ping. Another one is to highlight a token and click Shift and Z. This will zoom in on that token so your players can get a better view of what you have on your map. You can even do this with maps. There are also shortcuts to easily move a token between layers. Press Ctrl, Shift, and O to move your token into the token layer, Ctrl-Shift-K to move it to the GM layer, and Ctrl-Shift-M to move it to the map layer. For a fast way to add combatants to the turn tracker, open your turn tracker, highlight your combatants, and click Ctrl-U. This will automatically add them to the turn tracker. Lastly, hold Alt to move your token without it snapping to the grid. This allows you to make your token super small or super big, and also lets you move around your token without it snapping to the grid. Next, let's talk about Roll20 Characters. You can navigate to Roll20 Characters by heading to your home page and then hovering Tools, and then clicking Characters, previously Vault. This will take you to Roll20 Characters where you can create characters outside of the VTT. So here I have a list of all of my existing characters, and if you have a character currently in the VTT that you want to move into your vault, you can click Import, select the game name, and then select the character you'd like to import. So in this case, we'll import Alice. Now, when you open your character sheet, you can open this on your phone, your tablet, you can take it anywhere you want to go and easily access it without having to be in the virtual tabletop. You can also create a new character from this page. There are currently 15 game systems available in Roll20 Characters, so if you play any of these game systems, then you can create characters from here. If you created a character in Roll20 Characters that you want to add to a game that you're in the VTT, you can click this plus sign here called Add Character to Game. Then you'll select the name of the game you'd like to add your character to. Pro subscribers have unlimited character transfers, and then you'll just click Add to Game. Then this character sheet will be accessible in the VTT, and any rolls you make from Roll20 Characters will appear in the VTT as well. You can also copy characters or delete characters if you need to, and you can search characters by name if you have a lot. And don't forget, you can create unlimited characters for free with Roll20. Let's talk about the D&D 2024 character sheet on Roll20. This sheet was released at the end of 2023 and has seen a ton of improvements and ongoing support. So this is what the sheet looks like once you've created your character, but there are some features that you can adjust before you even start playing. So let's select Manage Sheet to see our settings. Here you can choose whether you're playing with the 2024 rules, or if you'd like to toggle this off, that means you're playing with 2014 5e rules. You can also toggle whether your attack rolls always roll damage or not. Sheet layout will default to compact, but you can also swap this to standard. We recommend standard if you're playing on a mobile or tablet device, but the default is compact. This gives you access to more information in a smaller amount of space. So now let's look at the cool Homebrew features you can add to your sheet. We designed this sheet to be incredibly customizable and friendly to home brewers, so let's add an item. To do so, you can navigate to Inventory and select the red plus sign. We'll give our weapon a name and call it the Awesome Axe, and we'll say it's equipable. Here, you'll select whether you're adding armor, a weapon, a shield, a tool, or healing. In this case, we're creating a weapon and will require martial training, and we'll say it's a great axe. You can also select whether this axe gives your player any modifiers. So if we wanted to add resources to this weapon, we would say new resource. We'll say there are 3 resources they can use to do an awesome cleave attack. And we'll say this recharges on a long rest completely. Hit apply. There are a bunch of modifiers you can add to any of your items, so be sure to keep that in mind. We'll hit save here, and we'll equip our awesome axe. Now let's add an attack to this weapon. So navigate to the combat tab, click the plus sign, and click add attack. Here we'll say this is a melee attack that costs an action, and we'll link it to the weapon we just created, which was our awesome axe. This axe does not have reach and will keep proficiency on automatic. At this point, if you want your weapon to give a +1, you would do so here on the attack. So if we wanted there to be a bonus of +1, we would add that right here. We will say this is an AoE, and we'll say it's an AoE that emanates from the character in a 5-foot radius. You can add a description with flavor, and here you can customize the damage. So the damage is going to be slashing. It will use the strength of the character, and if we wanted it to do +1 damage, we would add that +1 bonus right here. The damage dice in this case will be 1d12. And you could also override the crit dice option here, but we're going to keep that by the default. So now the awesome axe is attached to the weapon we have equipped. If we unequip the weapon, we'll no longer see that attack in the combat tab. We'll re-equip the weapon and we'll roll to hit. Now you can see where we have our strength, proficiency, and our custom bonus, which is the +1 to the weapon. And when we roll damage, we'll also see a strength and damage bonus of +1. Another cool feature of the 2024 character sheet are the effects. So with this, you can add a modifier to anything that you'd like on your sheet. So for our barbarian that we've created, we will toggle on rage. And when we roll to hit, we will automatically see that rage applied to the damage that we roll. You can create custom effects as well, and I'll show you a few of the customization tools. So we'll call this Supercharged Rage, and we'll say that this effect applies to damage done, and the value is 1d12. You can add modifiers here as well if you'd like to further customize your effect. And we'll be expanding what the effect applies to, but right now you can select attack, damage, saving throw, ability checks, and skills, or all of the above. For now, we'll stick to damage, and we'll click save. So when we toggle on Supercharged Rage, we'll roll an attack. When we roll damage, we'll see that extra 1d12 is added on. Huge numbers. You can also add custom skills to the sheet by clicking the cogwheel over here by skills. Click plus add at the top, and we can add a custom skill like airship flying. We'll say this is connected to intelligence and that we are proficient in it. Once I add that to my sheet, I see it right here among all my other skills, and I can easily roll for it and see exactly what my bonuses are. My barbarian isn't too smart, so is pretty average at airship flying. If you want to customize any of your existing abilities, you can do so as well. There are a ton of bonuses you can add. You can change whether you're rolling acrobatics, for example, with dexterity. You could change that to strength. You could also override your proficiency. So if your GM gives you expertise in a skill for one roll, you could easily change that here as well. If we don't want airship flying anymore, we can easily remove that from our sheet and click save. Another easy way to see or adjust your proficiency are these circles next to each ability. So if we hover over it, we'll see this is set to automatic. But if we wanted to say, hey GM, we spent our downtime training in acrobatics and your GM says now you're half proficient, you can select half proficient and see that reflected on your sheet right away. Or set it back to automatic. The full circle shows that you're proficient in something, and if you have expertise, it will also be highlighted in red. You can also add weapon, armor, tools, or language proficiencies to your sheet here as well. Let's talk about spells. On the Spells tab, there are also new features. Here you can see your spellcasting modifier, you can see your attack damage roll, and you can see what you use as your spellcasting ability. There are also a few different ways you can view your spells. So we'll click this icon here to see that we're right now on the default view. We could swap this to list view if we just want a list of all the names of our spells. We could swap to spell slot view to see how many spell slots we have left at each level. You can also sort by ascending or descending, and that will just put your highest level spells at the top. Of course, you can select manage to add spells, prepare or unprepare spells, to adjust your spell casting ability if you have different bonuses, and to add spell slots if you should receive extra spell slots. There are a ton of ways you can homebrew your own spells on the sheet. I recommend perusing all of your options. You can customize each aspect of the sheet that has a cogwheel, so click into the cogwheel and see what you can change. For AC, for example, we can override our total AC, our base armor, our bonuses, and we could even add an ability score to our armor class. So if I wanted to say I get extra wisdom to my armor class, then I would select that and my armor class would automatically update on the sheet. Another cool element we've added to the D&D 2024 character sheet are conditions. Click the cogwheel under conditions and select which condition applies to you. In this case, we'll say my character is poisoned. You will automatically see that these effects are applied to my character sheet, so I have disadvantage on all of my rolls and all of my skill checks. Once the condition is over with, then I will deselect it and my sheet will return to normal. You can easily reference what senses you have, including your passive senses, and you can also make adjustments to these as well if needed. If I am given dark vision due to goggles that I have, I could add that here. And you would see that reflected on the sheet. You can add attacks, effects, heals, and weapon mastery to the combat tab. You can add new spells to the spell tab. You can add armor, weapons, shields, tools, or healing to the inventory tab. You can add features and traits to the features and traits tab. You can also use the notes tab to keep track of your allies, enemies, and organizations you've dealt with, and use the about tab to record aspects of your character that you want to keep reminders of. Short and long rests have also been automated. So say for example, we've taken 15 damage on our character. Simply enter in 15 and click the negative sign in the heart. Now it's time for a short rest, so we'll click short rest and we'll be prompted to recover our HP using our hit dice. So I will roll 1 hit dice and see what we get. 7, that's pretty good. I still am not full HP though, so I'll roll 1 more time. And I got another 7. So now I'll take a short rest. Here you can select whether you want to reset your temporary max HP changes or if you want to recover dawn-based resources on this rest. We'll just click take short rest. Now you can see my HP has automatically been recovered and any resources that I had expended like a wild shape would also be recovered. This is also the case for long resting, so we'll go ahead and take a long rest. You can also select if you want to be taken to spell management after your long rest to prepare or unprepare spells. So we'll select take long rest. We've healed 13 HP, we didn't recover any resources, and we did recover all hit die because we're playing on the 2024 rules. Now we can see our spells, and if there are certain spells I don't want anymore, I can easily unprepare them, or if there are spells that I feel I do need, like Healing Word, I can prepare those easily from this tab. Now we can see Healing Word on our character sheet. To level up a character, we'll select the Level Up button beneath the character's name, and from here we can easily click what level we are. At this point, you'll be able to select any new features you are added to your sheet. So if we are leveled up to 3, we'll select our Barbarian subclass. We will check the Path of the Berserker for Player's Handbook. You can also see any elements of the sheet that you still need to fill out. So we have a new proficiency at this level, and so I will select Nature. This sheet will also alert you to where you have unfinished choices that need to be made with these yellow exclamation points. So in the About section, I didn't select what languages my character knows, and so it will alert me to that. Once you're done, you can save and exit. Now your character is level 3. So you can absolutely homebrew anything you'd like with the Roll20 D&D 2024 character sheet, but if you have the books on Roll20, you can also drag and drop items, spells, and more right onto your character sheet. So if I wanted my Barbarian to learn the spell Fireball, I could look that up in the compendium and drag and drop it right onto my sheet. You can see spells, fireball has been successfully dropped, and we can see that populate in my attack and on my spells tab. You can also do this with weapons and equipment, so when I search Great Axe, I'll scroll down to items and drag that right onto my sheet. And now we can see that populate as well. The Dungeon Master's Guide on Roll20 has over 400 magic items you can drag and drop onto your character sheet, along with boons and supernatural gifts that will automatically apply the bonuses when they're dragged on. It's certainly a time saver. If you would like to use the D&D 2014 and 2024 character sheets in one game, you can. Here's how to enable that. First, you'll head into the VTT and go over to your settings, then scroll down to character sheet settings. From here, you can add a sheet to game. Keep in mind this only works with Dungeons & Dragons at this time. Once your sheet has been added to the game, when you navigate back to character sheet settings, you'll see a few things you can toggle. So you can set the VTT to ask every time a new character is created, or you can have it default. Now when I create a character, it'll ask me to choose my character sheet. In this case, we will create an NPC using the D&D 2024 character sheet. To do so, once you're on this page, you'll scroll down to build a new NPC. From here, we can customize our NPC as we'd like to. So we can add a name. We'll call it Boblin. And his challenge rating is 1/4. This will automatically populate with XP, but you can also adjust the XP to your liking. You can see all of this populate in the sheet as I enter it. Now, once your NPC sheet is created, you can also change the way that your NPC sheet looks to make it easier to roll while running combat. To do so, click Manage in the top right corner and swap Compact to Stat Block under Layout. We'll click Save. Now you can see the layout of this is a lot more condensed and it's a lot easier to see what you need to roll. When you want to go back and edit your sheet, you'll click Manage Sheet and you'll swap back to Compact. Here we can add custom attacks and custom actions. We'll say Boblin has a scimitar. And that he uses his dexterity to attack, and it does 1d6 damage. Now you can see that populate. Last but not least, we'll cover how to add add-ons to your game, how to adjust content sharing, and more that you can do in the game settings section of your Roll20 VTT game. So we will click on the game's name, and there you'll see all of your players. To add an add-on to your game, you'll scroll down to where it says Game Add-ons, and here you can search through all of the add-ons that you own on Roll20. When you find one that you want to add to your game, just select it and click Add to Game. Next, if you want to change what rulebooks you share with your players in each game, click on Settings and select Game Settings. Here you can adjust a number of settings. You can select whether your game is public or not. You can change the game's background image if you'd like. You can allow players to create their own characters, which is great. You can also allow players to transfer characters into Roll20 Characters. Here we're going to take a look at content sharing. So I will select Share My Compendium with Players. Yes, this means any rulebooks or content that I own on Roll20, my players will be able to access in their compendium and in their character builder. And then we can select or deselect the rulebooks that we want our players to be able to access. So in this case, if I was running a Kobold Press Midgard game, I would enable the Midgard Heroes Handbook and the Midgard World Book, but I might not enable A Life Well Lived by Cubicle 7. Once you've selected what content you want to share, click Save Content Sharing Settings. If you've been running games for a while on Roll20, I highly recommend taking a look at the Game Default Settings page. This is essentially the defaults that your pages are set to whenever you create a new one in the VTT, and if you have a specific style that you like, for example, I don't use grids in many of my maps, then you can easily select and toggle those things on or off. In this case, I have disabled grids so that when I create a new page in my game, the grid is not automatically enabled, but I can do so manually at any time. There are a ton of different settings you can adjust here, so be sure to poke around and see what it is that you would like to change to make setting up a new page easier for you. If you're always using dynamic lighting, you can set dynamic lighting to be the default. You can also set it so that token vision is always enabled, so you don't have to worry about giving your tokens vision every time you drag them onto a new map. Definitely check that out. Here you can adjust your settings for whichever character sheet you're using in your game. Settings that I personally enjoy is setting roll queries to advantage toggle. This means that not all rolls are automatically rolled with advantage, but you can set it to advantage or disadvantage as needed. I also like to set whisper rolls to GM on a toggle, and I set auto damage roll to off. There are a ton of little settings that you can adjust here to customize your game and make it as easy as possible for you to run your game, so be sure to take a look at this. In a future video, we'll dive deeper into what you can do with token bar values. Thank you for watching part 2 of our Roll20 101 series. We hope you learned something new, and feel free to refer back to this video whenever you need a refresher. We'll see you in part 3.